What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer who is currently the unified WBC, WBA, WBO, Ring Magazine, super middleweight world champion superstar boxer Saul Canelo Alvarez. He and his trainer, well-renowned trainer of the year, EDDY Reynoso, well, they call out undefeated 2-division world champion, who currently is the WBC reigning middleweight world champion superstar boxer Jermall Charlo, as well as they let it be known that they want to face off against undefeated unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer who is currently reviewed and considered to be top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in the world in Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. With that said, Errol Spence Jr., he has a mega showdown coming up with legendary 8-division world champion, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. That's scheduled for August 21st. With that said, they let it be known that after this fight with undefeated IBF super middleweight world champion superstar boxer Caleb Sweethand Plant, that they want to fight Jermall Charlo next, and then they want to face off against Errol Spence should he come up to middleweight 160 or do a catchweight. And then if Errol Spence is not interested in moving up that far yet, then they want to face undefeated 2-time WBC super middleweight world champion Mexican superstar boxer David Benavidez. Now, my gripe with this is, if you're at super middleweight, you fight and defeat Caleb Plant in September, then why would you be focused on the welterweight, who's 3 weight classes below you in Errol Spence? I understand Jermall Charlo, because there's been a lot of talk of Jermall Charlo and Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez had the opportunity to fight Jermall Charlo when it was at junior middleweight. Jermall Charlo was Canelo Alvarez's WBC mandatory challenger when he was at middleweight, and Canelo Alvarez never showed much interest in making that fight happen. So the fact that he never showed much interest in making that fight happen, and the fact that the fans started to speculate that Canelo Alvarez just didn't like the style matchup, he didn't like his chances against Jermall Charlo, and so he simply avoided that fight. And so now Jermall Charlo, he recently fought a friend of Canelo Alvarez and a former fighter of EDDY Reynoso. EDDY Reynoso wasn't committed to Juan Montiel, but he's very familiar. He says he knew Juan Montiel from when he was a child, and he says Juan Montiel, he did great in the fight against Jermall Charlo. That was Jermall Charlo's last fight, June 19th, which he did very well. He hurt Jermall Charlo in the 8th and 9th round badly. The fight was far more competitive than most people expected it to be, and they have a relationship with Juan Montiel. So he's stating that, the fact that Juan Montiel, he did great in the fight. He said that Juan Montiel just didn't have the tools that was necessary to secure the victory over, Jermall Charlo. So now they're saying that this is the perfect time to face off against Jermall Charlo, which is ironic, right? And the reason I say it's ironic is because I feel like they see something in Jermall Charlo in that fight that they feel like they can exploit now. They see something in Jermall Charlo that they feel like, there's a lot of confidence that they'll be the victor against Jermall Charlo. So now they feel like the time is right. Because at the time, Canelo Alvarez was jumping around. It just didn't make sense. When he was at 154, he was unifying the belts, and these guys was available to fight, and he showed no interest. When he was at 160, he beat the reigning unified middleweight world champion, who was undefeated at the time. They fought twice in superstar, future Hall of Famer Gennady Triple G Golovkin. He fought him to a draw the first fight. Second fight, he got the victory. He stated that he wanted to be the first Mexican-born fighter to be undisputed, hold all 4 major sanction bodies. Okay, that's never happened in the history of sport of boxing. There's been undisputed champions, but not to hold all 4 major sanctions: the WBC, WBO, IBF, and the WBA, as well as the Ring Magazine, to be the lineal undisputed champion. So he said he wanted to create history. He was one fight away from doing that after beating Gennady Golovkin. All he had to do was fight Demetrius Andrade, who is still the WBO reigning middleweight world champion, who is undefeated and 2-division world champion. He could have fought and beat Demetrius Andrade. He would have been undisputed. Stylistically, Canelo Alvarez, at 5'7.5" with a 69-inch arm reach, and doesn't have the quickest feet in the world. Demetrius Andrade is seen as a bad matchup because Demetrius Andrade is 6 feet, 6'1", 6'1" tall, with a 74-inch arm reach. Okay, who's a southpaw, very elusive, very athletic. Is undefeated. Was seen as one of the best in the amateurs. A pure boxer with a great jab and sneaky left uppercut and right uppercut. It's a bad style matchup for Canelo Alvarez. So Canelo Alvarez, he chose to go in a different direction. He chose to dare to be great, jump up the light heavyweight 175 and challenge the WBO light heavyweight 3-time world champion in Sergey Crusher Kovalev, in which he got a knockout victory over Crusher Kovalev to become a 4-division world champion. But he could have fought Demetrius Andrade. Would have been a bigger accomplishment for Canelo Alvarez in his career to become undisputed at middleweight and hold all 4 major sanction bodies, and on top of it, be the first Mexican-born fighter to do so. So it was a more historic event. There's 4-division world champions already in the sport of boxing that's Mexican-born fighters. You have Juan Manuel Marquez. You have Leo Santa Cruz. The list goes on and on and on. There's plenty of 4-division world champions that are Mexican-born fighters. But there's not any undisputed 4 major sanctioned belt holders in the history of the sport of boxing. That would have been historic. He would have been a reigning middleweight champion. And Sergey Kovalev, he was just coming off of a fight with Anthony Yarde, who was his mandatory. He beat Anthony Yarde, hard-fought fight. He needed a break anyway, okay? He stated he wanted to take a break. He wasn't looking to retire. So Canelo Alvarez could allow him to, take a break. He might have fought a voluntary defense, a light touch fight for Sergey Kovalev, and he could have fought Demetrius Andrade, become undisputed, and still then dared to be great after that fight, jumped up and fought Sergey Kovalev, who would have accepted the opportunity because he was looking for a big, lucrative cash-out fight anyway, okay? So that would have been, ideal for Canelo Alvarez to become undisputed and then become a 4-division world champion. That would have spoke volumes for his career. His career is already, legacy is already being cemented, but that would have been a stamp of, no doubt, first ballot Hall of Famer, okay? And he chose not to, okay? And at the time, Jermall Charlo was his mandatory. Demetrius Andrade was a fight that he could have took to be undisputed, and he chose to go in a different direction. So Errol Spence is a superstar. Errol Spence is a cash cow. Errol Spence is a pay-per-view star. Deontay Wilder is the leading draw as far as African-American black fighters go here in the United States. Okay, he's the biggest draw, biggest ticket seller, biggest pay-per-view seller. Then Errol Spence falls in right behind him at number 2. So there's no doubt Canelo Alvarez views that fight as a huge payday. But Errol Spence is not. I know Errol Spence is viewed as a big welterweight, but he's at 5'9.5", 72-inch arm reach. He's not much bigger than Floyd Mayweather. I know people look at his stature and they believe that he is. He's at 5'9.5". Floyd Mayweather is 5'8" with a 72-inch arm reach. He's at 5'9" with a 72-inch arm reach. Okay. So he's just an inch and a half taller than Floyd Mayweather. Now his physical makeup is, he's just a thicker guy than Floyd Mayweather. He's just built different, but he's not the biggest guy. Now Canelo Alvarez is not the biggest guy, but he's real stocky, and that's what they look at from Errol Spence. So Errol Spence is southpaw. He's a pure boxer. They look at that fight and they feel like they like their chances. They're confident in it. I believe that they see something in Jermall Charlo and they like their chances as well, especially after that Montiel fight, and they're very familiar with Montiel. I'm sure Canelo Alvarez sparred with Montiel. I'm sure, he trained with him. He's very familiar with him, and they feel if he had the success he had, imagine what they can do. They're a much better fighter than Juan Montiel, okay? And that's why David Benavidez who is 6'2", with a 75, 76 inch arm reach, who's undefeated as a pressure fighter with a granite chin, and he's a very, very high volume fighter, accumulation puncher with power in both hands. That's why he's not the ideal fight for Canelo Alvarez, okay? Because he will have a 6 to 7 inch arm reach advantage over Canelo Alvarez. He's going to have a 6-inch height advantage over Canelo Alvarez, and he's a pressure fighter, and he's going to balloon up in weight after weighing in the 168, definitely 180, 185. So he's going to be the much bigger guy in the ring, and that's why he's considered the third option. You see, they have Jermall Charlo, then they have Errol Spence, then they have David Benavidez. Now, also was mentioned that they are interested in facing off against Beterbiev at light heavyweight, who's the unified champion. He holds the WBC and the IBF title at light heavyweight. They're interested in facing Beterbiev, who's an undefeated knockout artist at light heavyweight. But size-wise, he's not going to be towering over Canelo Alvarez. It's a winnable fight. Yeah, he's a power puncher. But he has a lot of flaws. 16 wins, no losses, no draws. 16 wins by way of knockout. But he stands at 5'11" with a 73-inch arm reach. So he'll have a 3 to 4 inch arm reach advantage over Canelo Alvarez, and a 3-inch height advantage over Canelo Alvarez. So it's not, nothing that Canelo Alvarez has not seen before in his career. He just fought Billy Joe Saunders that had similar attributes to Beterbiev. Now, Beterbiev is a bigger puncher than Billy Joe Saunders, but he's going to be there to be hit, okay? He's not the slick boxer. He stands right in front of you, doesn't have the best defense, and that's not going to bowl well for Beterbiev dealing with Canelo Alvarez combination punches. So this is interesting that they saying that let them secure a fight with Caleb Plant, who again is going to have similar attributes, physical attributes as Beterbiev. He's 6'1", with a 74-inch arm reach. So he's more rangy and taller than Beterbiev, and he's slicker. So if they get past Caleb Plant, then they love their chance against Beterbiev, who's going to be standing there. He's going to be ripe for the picking. You don't have to look for him. So these are the fights that they said they're targeting after Caleb Plant, should they get past Caleb Plant in September. Can't wait to see how this unfolds and plays out. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
This is Amanda, the Real Deal Serrano, and you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.